Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Getting Hammered. I am your host, Mary Catherine Ham, in Chicago for the Democratic National Convention. I am joined by Vic Mattis, who's holding down the fort in Washington. This is the last day of the convention. Tonight will be the crowning of Kamala. I will not be here for that. I'm actually flying back to be with my kids, getting out of here before the rush. So I will miss this historic moment, but we can talk about last night. I got a hard out today, but we're going to do a quick little bit about last night and the nation's introduction to Governor Tim Walz and the rest of the programming on night 3 of the DNC. How are you doing, Vic?
Mary Catherine, hello. I am running on fumes, as they say, vapors or fumes, whatever the phrase is. I honestly don't know how much more of this I can do. I am reaching my DNC saturation level.
I understand. I felt like I did last night too.
I mean, it's like 4 days. It really should be 3. And I felt like I'm reaching the point like when I was on the Sub Beacon and I had to watch everything all at once happening at the same time all over again. That one, whatever that was.
You didn't enjoy that one, no.
That's how I feel with the DNC, especially like just getting beaten over the head by all the various speakers who are. It's all gaslighting. It's all gaslighting.
I know. Well, they are sort of bending the time space continuum, much like everything all at once, everywhere again, because what they're doing this entire time, which is very strange, and an operation in just really gaslighting the American people, is pretending the last 3.5 years didn't happen.
That's right.
In fact, Barack Obama's big line about not wanting a sequel applies at least equally, if not more, to Harris Walz as it does to Trump Vance, which is a very strange thing. And they keep talking about, I think, was it Oprah or was it Michelle Obama who used the word despair? Someone used the word despair, but it's all about, I don't think it was Oprah. Oprah was a little bit more positive on that front.
No, we just jumped from 2020 to now.
Yeah.
That was it. And the same thing really quickly, and we can go back to it in a second. Yeah. Bill Clinton, talking about, I turned 78, and I don't have any, desire to be in office. Yeah, there's a current president of the United States who is now going to be 82, or is 82 now. And
by the way, Bill Clinton, not impressive last night.
Okay, I don't know if you want to get into that now. I have thoughts, but go ahead.
Let's do a little bit of that, because Bill Clinton, not impressive. Look, age comes for all of us. I think he looks great.
He looks great. He's thin. He's supposedly a vegetarian.
Yeah. Yes, vegetarian or vegan, one of the two. But his voice sounds very weak.
Oh my goodness.
His energy was not high, but his mind and his ego want to do the big long.
It's propelling him forward.
Yes.
That and his long bony finger. Did you notice the long bony? He used to have a trick in 92 where they said, don't point at people because you have to use the thumb thing.
Yes.
And now he's just old man bony finger.
He doesn't care about that anymore. But I thought the thing about Bill Clinton is I'm sure there were a couple of lines in there that were poignant or nice. I didn't really hear them because I sort of checked out. I was sitting on the floor for all of this because I was on set, and it had no energy in the room. It was very low key. You could tell people wanted him to wrap it up much earlier than he wrapped it up. And here's the thing, because he didn't wrap it up and he's a former president and they're nicer to him than they are to Biden, the current president.
Right.
They let him go on forever and everybody got bumped to much later in the evening, which they should not have done, especially to Walz, of whom I am no fan. But he is a good speaker, and his introduction to the American people should have been done in prime time. The fact that they can't run this convention makes me think maybe they shouldn't run the country, but that's not going to occur to anyone else in the media, I guess. Anyway.
Yeah, no, Clinton was on. I noticed this. It was like the 9:30, 9:45 time slot. I was like, wow, that's a good prime time slot. What time did Walz end up coming on then?
It was very late.
Yeah, so
I'm getting mixed up because I'm Central Time, so it was earlier.
That's true. Yeah, it's late for us though on the East Coast.
The East Coast, it must have pushed past 11:30.
Yeah, yet again.
Yeah.
It's like when they announced the Best Picture Oscar, and it's way past the time that you're supposed to do that, and that's how they're running things. So
So Clinton went underwhelming.
I found him to be, he's still sort of coming across as an amiable self, a little bit lectury, but that's how he is. But
By the
I
way,
just want to,
didn't the Democratic Party have like a Me Too reckoning? Oops, what happened?
yeah, I was going to say that. I love how the whole thing with, the Lewinsky scandal, it reminded me of the Lewinsky scandals, all the bimbo eruptions that happened, right? And then, of course, the whole Jeffrey Epstein fiasco where he'd been on his plane to the island and whatnot. That's all forgiven now.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't
It's
matter.
fine. Yeah, it's fine. And so that's on the one hand. And on the other hand, I thought to myself, gosh, I know they're preaching all this unity here and he's backing Kamala Harris. I can't think of two more disparate people than Bill Clinton and Kamala Harris. Bill and Hillary are probably the last of the staunch pro-Israel defenders, and they're not even in office. And the idea that, they were blue dog Democrats, the Democratic Leadership Council, the DLC, that's a vestige of the past. If you in front of the squad, they might as well be having, it's like having a Republican up there.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking to myself, and I've often thought this to myself, if you brought to me a Bill Clinton speech and platform from the 90s and said that this was I had an opportunity to vote for this person for president, I would probably go like, that seems okay. That seems like I might even be medium enthusiastic about it compared to the Democrats we have now. Like it's a whole different ballgame.
Could you imagine a Democrat saying that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare? Wow.
I mean, that is one thing about this. A lot of this convention is pretending to be people who do USA chants, pretending to be people who enthusiastically do the Pledge of Allegiance, pretending to be people who like football.
Yeah. No, it's total gaslighting.
No, and so many people in this room are not those people, right? But they are putting on a good show.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mean that all of them are. Plenty of them come from like regular places where they do salute the flag and But a lot of the left in this country is not into that kind of programming, but they put on a good face for this event. The part where I think they give away their far leftism is the abortion issue, because the extremism that they endorse on this issue. Walz, of course, governor of a state that has no limit.
No limits.
Which he made sure that it didn't. That's something that's outside of the mainstream of American opinion, particularly women who do not believe that there should be no restrictions in the later trimesters, even though they believe that there should be options for exceptions, right? But the cheers in the arena for this specific thing, to which I said last night, look, I know you guys are branding freedom, but if the freedom is to get an abortion and join a union, like, it's pretty limited for me. It's
dark.
But
how is this joyful? I'm overjoyed that I got the abortion. This is, and Oprah Winfrey, everybody was driving home that point, because again, this is a main avenue of attack for them, is they figured what they call women's rights and such.
I think it does speak. Look, this is not an issue that speaks to me, right? Because I have always been confused by the argument that my first concern as a woman should be the option to off my offspring. I've always thought that that's look, I know there are situations in which it is sympathetic and it's more sympathetic and there's reasons. Right. I understand that. But I've always thought it was a strange and insulting ask of me to make that my number one priority. Yeah. It's not my number one priority, not by a long shot. And so I do not relate to this. I do think that it is an issue that can speak to suburban women. And if you do enough of the fear mongering on it, then it can make people hesitant to pull the lever for a GOP candidate. Walz does this by telling half truths about his fertility treatments with his wife. Yeah. Right. He talks about IVF, which is the thing that some pro-lifers do have ethical issues with.
Some, but not like Republicans in Congress. They're all.
Not only are they not trying to ban anything, they have come out enthusiastically in favor because they're trying to head off this attack. But Walz didn't even have IVF, which is the basis for that ethical qualm. He had IUI, which is does not create embryos, and does not have an ethical qualm. But if
And
you
nobody's going after that. And
no
JD
one,
Vance is not against IUI, but there he is. He spreads that, and it goes around, and then all of a sudden it becomes understood. JD
yeah,
Vance, couch and anti IVF.
oh god,
That's it.
these are the
Yeah,
things.
those are the
So
things.
so yeah, go high, go high. So so yes, look, I think it can affect that segment of voters, right?
Hmm.
And that the messaging is meant to do that. Walz did go back, mentioned IVF, and used weasel language again last
Yeah.
night in his speech. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about Oprah.
Oh, sure. Some of the other speakers, yeah.
She looked
Of course.
fantastic. She looked fantastic. Look, the Democrats have had a parade of very capable and talented speakers, and they have not dealt with policy largely. They've dealt with a sort of soaring idea of, a divorce from these last 4 years of hell,
Yeah.
which weirdly are theirs to,
Right.
to own.
Right. Again, the last 3.5 years and 12 of the last 16.
Yeah, yeah. So we need a divorce from those. We need a different chapter. We need to turn
Mhm.
the page.
Turn the page from this grim moment.
So Oprah wants to turn the page from this terrible, terrible moment. I thought her call to action, much like the Obamas, is good. Like
Mhm.
people will leave the room with enthusiasm.
Sure.
The childless cat lady thing is just too helpful to Democrats that he ever said that. I felt terrible for the young lady that they put the camera on right after she said childless cat lady.
Oh, no. Come
I
on
I
now.
don't know who she was, but it wasn't necessary to do to her. Should have picked a man. Should have picked a man to cut to in the
Yeah.
feed.
Right. Nobody wants to be that one. It's like,
But like also this
it's
idea
like a drug commercial, it's
this idea that Oprah's like some really open-minded independent.
right.
Right. Like
It's
she's one of you guys.
Yeah, yeah. As if she was, like, and again, from if people still remember that she had this very popular talk show. But I do wonder at this point, you have so many young people now. Like, how many people remember that? How many people remember, as Clinton exits after his speech and they play the song from Fleetwood Mac, "Don't Stop,"
They don't
thinking
know any of
about
that.
tomorrow from,
Yeah.
like, I was there and I remember, and I also remember how mean that campaign was against George H.W. Bush. He's all so nice now and everything, but man,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, I don't I think Oprah is an icon.
yeah,
Weirdly,
sure.
weirdly, and I'm not doing this just to pat Republicans on the back. They are pretty
Or
analogous.
at least was.
She's an icon of a level of Hulk Hogan.
Mhm.
Like someone whose name everyone has encountered at some point. Now, I do agree with you that her career path has been less visible
Among young people
among
now.
young people in the last
Yeah.
like 10 years probably.
Mhm.
But so we had Oprah, then we had governors also ran some of them for the
Yes.
VP slot.
Yes.
Josh Shapiro spoke,
Right.
Wes Moore spoke, Pete Buttigieg spoke.
Oh,
I
Pete Buttigieg.
I
Yeah.
joked that between Buttigieg, Clinton, and Walz, it was like white guys who love to hear themselves talk night. That
Oh,
was
no,
that was the
absolutely.
picture.
And Buttigieg in particular, who loves to talk everything except about his job as a transportation
Oh,
secretary.
never. I'm so glad he's getting a break from that tough gig
Yeah.
to
What
be
did he
here.
what did he say? He said that heritage is the beating heart of the GOP. You know?
You know what I liked too? Oprah warned of a party that finds books to be dangerous, right? She warned about that. What has been the prop that every person on that stage almost has held up?
Mhm.
It's a giant book that they're using to represent Project 2025. Another thing I thought was telling, Kenan Thompson, who did a good
Oh,
bit,
sure.
did
Yeah.
a comedy bit
It's
about
funny.
Project 2025, and he did a nice job. But he directed people to Kamala Harris's site to read Project 2025. So I just would like to note that Kamala Harris has no policy on her site
No.
except Project 2025.
Yeah.
That's it.
This is what this is what we're against. This is what the other side is. We can't tell you what we're for. Again, as you mentioned, there's no policy platform whatsoever. The entire convention has been designed to also, besides this whole politics of joy business, is to really go after Donald Trump and to make it personal. I mean, the amount of it, the number of times they mention him, it's
Right.
all about the other guy. It's not about what we're bringing to the table. With 75 days left before this election,
No,
we'll
and
let you know.
I think that's their job, and I think it is. Yeah, you're right. It's not like as forward-looking and positive that they're getting themselves credit for. That's their job. I also think the way they're doing it, or at least the Obamas did it, where they're talking about him in a sort of like mocking tone, I think is
Yes.
much better than the old thing they were doing, which is like he's a threat to everything, which means they
No.
were lying the whole time, by the way. Oh, fun fact about two of the speakers last night, Wes Moore of Maryland and
Yep.
Tim Walz of Minnesota. Those were the folks who came to the cameras outside the White House after that governor's meeting post disastrous Biden.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
right.
told you from the microphones that Biden was totally fine.
Right.
And we were good to go. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind when they tell you a month later that Harris is the person to go.
Right.
Right.
No, sharp as attack. And it's the same thing with Kamala Harris herself. I thought for sure once they said, oh, she's going to be the presumptive nominee, she's going to be in so much trouble because of her, covering up Joe Biden's cognitive decline. No, it's okay too.
So yeah, no. So those
accountability.
guys are all working together. Look, they get to have their sort of 3-day party. Obviously, when Stevie Wonder is performing and John Legend and Sheila E. are doing a Prince tribute.
Does it get any better than that?
I mean, you're having a nice party. Like that's a thing. So they'll get their couple of days, but they're.
I do know those artists, by the way.
Yeah. Lord help us. We do need some critical coverage of these folks. I want to say we got just a few minutes, but on Buttigieg, I thought the arc of his speech was sort of nice. It's not he's better as a debater on a TV set, but I thought he was fine. Wes Moore, interestingly, everybody was gaga over him.
Because 2028. Yeah.
He seems very talented. He was good in the room. Here's how you know he's good. His speech started and ended with the giant, catastrophic, scary, viral, horrible failure of a large piece of infrastructure in his state on his watch.
Yeah.
When a bridge just collapsed like a Lego set.
Instantaneously.
When it was hit by a tanker, and tragically 6 people died in that terrible event. If you can take a giant infrastructure failure on your watch as a governor and turn it into the here's why I'm great of your pitch.
Exactly.
You're quite a politician.
And also what the overall package, how he presents himself too. He is, easy on the eyes, as I have been told. As I have been told. A former Republican congressman even said he's like, he's pretty jacked, so all right.
He gets respect from both sides on that. So I thought, to me, that spoke to something I've noticed throughout this, and then we can get to a few minutes on Walz. Which is that a lot of these folks speaking, including the entire Harris Walz ticket, because Harris has presided over the last 3.5 years, are people who have presided over pretty gigantic failures. Yeah. Right? Teachers unions heads. Oh, I think we know that failure. Pete Buttigieg, failure after failure after failure at the transportation head position. Wes Moore, this giant bridge collapse, right? Now they did build that bridge back, so I'm going to give him credit for that, and it did not take that long. So that's a government win. So well done. The mayor of Chicago, I think we know the failures there. So
the governor of Illinois.
The governor of Illinois. So you can talk all you want about how you love America and you like to wear a camo hat, and
the camo hat is a big thing.
Dig football.
Ella Emhoff.
And you dig football, but like these people have their actions and their records show failure, except by the way, for Josh Shapiro, who actually is a good governor, but he was not rewarded for that for the reasons that we know. A, to appease the people who are outside the convention, Hamas supporters, and B, I think because being an actual successful governor who governs well and whom Republicans do not hate, I don't think is rewarded in this party.
No, and again, it's an easy layup for Republicans to focus on this, but of course, Donald Trump ends up on the stump referring to him as the overrated Jewish governor. I don't think that helps.
No.
I'm not sure what the angle is that he's playing there.
Way to shoot yourself in the foot, buddy, as usual. And then lastly, Tim Walz, who he was introduced in his intro video, again with weasel words. They said he served as a command sergeant major, which technically is correct for several months until he did not earn the rank.
Right.
So they're still using that. They don't care. And he also, again, it's like sort of fudged the story on the IVF IUI thing in the speech. My brain is going to break over this mind your own business crap.
Oh, and they love it. They eat it up. And also...
don't, because they need all your money. They need your actual business
to
do any of the things they want to do.
the mind your own business. He's the opposite of that. I mean, again, during COVID time, they set up the hotline, rat on your neighbors.
It is
It's
the
just, yeah,
diametrically
yeah.
opposed
And there's trans
to ending
policies
your
for
own business.
in schools. Also, I have a question for you. They keep on referring to him as coach. Is this like trying to make fetch happen? And is it going to happen?
Look, I actually think that picture of him is pretty effective. The small town football coach.
Yeah.
By the way, everybody half of that room wants to
Defensive
ban
coordinator. Yeah.
half of that room wants to ban football for CTE
Oh,
reasons anyway.
yeah.
But look, the band was cool. The guys coming out on stage.
Oh,
That motif, I think, is not bad. It's a little
yeah.
cheesy, but
Yeah.
I thought his speech was quite good. Again, he should not have been rushed through it by his colleagues, but he had to be because they put him so
Right. Again,
right.
the main people here are getting, but I don't know what's going to happen to Kamala, this evening. I mean, that's the other question. When she,
They probably want to push her late too.
there's a couple of other sort of weird speakers, if I want to use that word, their word against them in the lineup. I know Al Sharpton speaking tonight, for example, but really quickly on the Walz thing, his line again about, how he was a high school teacher, 25 students, none of them went to Yale,
Weird line.
Yeah.
It's like,
Because I know he's go ahead.
We have our issues with the Ivy League, right? But generally we don't.
They don't. Again, they don't.
No, they don't at all. And we do. And
Right.
yet it is an accomplishment, particularly for a public school kid to
Sure.
come out of a normal upbringing
Mhm.
and go to an Ivy League school
Mhm.
in a small town, actually.
Yeah.
That is something that is celebrated. If you have 24 kids in your class and one of them
Right.
goes to an Ivy League, that's a feather in your cap. He doesn't have such a feather, and that doesn't mean there aren't other feathers, but why are we
Right.
crapping on that?
Because it's JD Vance.
Yeah.
It's about JD Vance and everything about him. If they can somehow prove that his book was a fraud, and again, the way they're doing the narrative is that he, crapped all over the people in that book. And again, with the Yale thing, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, even his own DNC chairman, Jamie Harrison, they went to Yale. Suddenly it's bad. Merit is bad. Merit is bad.
I don't know, man. I had sort of had my fill by the time he spoke. I can recognize that his speech was effective. I think he's a confident and capable speaker.
He's very
impressive for somebody who has not been on a stage
Yeah.
this big before.
Yeah.
He's a little too confident and gets cocky and tells lies. So that's a problem.
Yeah.
He's not going to get called on it this week. And as we move forward, tonight, I guess we'll find out what Kamala has to dish out. She's not going to gain a ton of public speaking skills between like 2 days ago and now,
No, she is who she is.
but she could do okay, right? It's a prompter.
Right. I am sure somebody has already told her to cut down on the cackle.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got to wrap it up.
You
because
got to go.
I have a heart out, but we wanted to give you a little bit of an overview. And yes, I'm a little pissy. I did not enjoy last night being gaslit to that degree. I think the mind your own business is really what threw me over the edge. Like every single one of your ideas requires the power of the state to come and take something from me. Like every single one.
No, again, the gaslighting, the idea that, for example, in COVID, we wanted everyone to come out and Donald Trump told us to stay or some sort of weird, sort of alternative universe.
Yes.
Enough is enough. Mary Catherine, we got one more night of this. We can do it.
We can do it. We can do it.
Okay.
And you know what? They get their little party. Okay. So.
Okay. That wraps up this episode of Getting Hammered. Remember, you can subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter at Victorino Mattis.
I'm at MK Hammer on Twitter, at MK Hammer Time on Instagram. You can follow the show at Getting Hammered Podcast on Instagram and YouTube. Thanks for getting hammered responsibly. This has been a Nebulous Media Podcast. We'll try to be sunnier tomorrow.